This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 13, verse 12. I will make a man more precious than the fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir, and giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahawashi, Bahasham Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles, and bishops of Great Millstone, as well as the men that taught them, and peace and blessings unto the 144,000, as well as the rest of the elect. All right, it's Brother Taza Pie, here with your daily lunch special, and today we're going to be serving up a little cannon fodder, all right? NPCs, dead hands, mort mains, all right? Chattel. And the lesson is going to break this verse down, all right? As the lesson unfolds, you will understand what the Heavenly Father meant when he said, I will make a man more precious than the fine gold, or than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. All right. And this is a video one of the brothers posted this morning. I want to go into this, all right, dealing with this topic, all right. Because as you see, the title, Ex-Army Intelligence Analyst. And then after that, ground invasion of Iran could be suicide mission for U.S. And that's exactly what it is. This war is also, I've explained the purpose of it, for the ushering in of a digital economy, total control grid type of economy, and destroying the little autonomy that people did enjoy with the Federal Reserve note. All of that will be gone. All right, your ability to sell and buy, purchase and sell, you know, these things that people like to do. You know, I like buying and selling. You know, you love to get a good deal on something, you know, or sell. That's how, you know, people hustle. You get you a t-shirt printer, print some t-shirts, you go out, you know, out down south, even on the West Coast. All right. Men made small fortunes selling music out of their trunks. You know, that Jake liked, you know, the music Jake liked. And Jake go and buy it out the trunk and get a good deal on some music. Some music ain't nobody heard. You know, it ain't in the stores. You know, it's that fresh milk. But, you know, yeah, all that's going to be gone. It's going to be a bland, dull society. You know? Now, I don't want to get way off track. But you should already, just from this headline, see what the Heavenly Father was talking about. All right, a ground invasion of Iran could be suicide mission for U.S., and that's exactly why they're going to do it. All right. This war, all right, the purpose is for digital economy and ushering a new, the fourth industrial revolution. That's what this is for. Most of these revolutions were ushered in by war. Well, this fourth industrial revolution will not be any different. It will be ushered in by this third world war. All right. And everybody's coming out saying it now. And where they getting this jargon? All right. I don't hear it too much out of mainstream, but where are they getting this? Because it's biblically based. And they don't, well, they might be now, but they wasn't really listening to Great Millstone in droves. But everybody is like on one accord saying this is World War III. All right. And I know there's a lot of people out there listening to Great Millstone who don't want to give us any acknowledgement or credit. You know, we the the black sheep in the earth, for lack of a better term. All right. But yeah, they don't want to credit us. But right, this third woe, this to go to show, everybody's saying that it's inbred in us. These scriptures, the Bible, is inbred in everybody. The Most High's name is in everyone's DNA. All right. Yeah, when shit go bad, you know, just horribly bad, nobody quotes Quran. Nobody quotes any of these, none of them Egyptian books, none of the Kemetic shit. People quote Bible. And they use terms as this is of biblical proportions. So just to say, man, these people need to cut it out. All right, because deep down inside, y'all know this Bible is what it is. All right, but y'all just in the rebellious nature. All right, the rebellion of the flesh. Paul spoke about it, and Paul had a right mind. And he said he struggled with the flesh. So how much more of these people who don't even give a care about Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, yeah, they can deny it, but that don't make it untrue. Let's play this.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. As we continue our look at the U.S. and Israeli war on Iran, numerous nations have rejected a request from President Trump to send warships to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has largely shut down the critical waterway. About 20% of the world's oil exports flows through the strait. On Monday, Germany's defense minister said this is not our war. President Trump criticized allies who are refusing to help.
I don't do a hard sell on them because my attitude is we don't need anybody. We're the strongest nation in the world. We have the strongest military by far in the world. We don't need them. But
just offhand, who does that sound like? All right, just to draw a quick parallel or connection, all right? Doesn't that sound like I can do bad by myself? All right, and you can see why they're in the same trick bags, all right? The so-called black woman and these Edomite individuals, well, all Edomites, but especially the Edomite male, the male Edomite, right, this is her father. This is where she gets her rhetoric, her agendas and ideas, all right? These people. So you hear Trump sounding like a complete kid, like an adolescent. No, we don't need them. We're stronger. Nah, that's bullshit. All right, but anyway.
Flows through the strait. On Monday, Germany's defense minister said this is not our war. President Trump criticized allies who are refusing to help.
I don't do a hard sell on them because my attitude is we don't need anybody. We're the strongest nation in the world. We have the strongest military by far in the world. We don't need them. But it's interesting. I'm almost doing it in some cases, not because we need them, but because I want to find out how they react.
Meanwhile, Trump continues to give mixed messages on his war plans. On Friday, he was interviewed by Brian Kilmeade on Fox News.
When are you going to know when it's over?
When I feel it.
Okay.
I feel it in my bones.
When I feel it in my bones. This all comes as the U.S. is sending 2,500 Marines and an amphibious assault ship to the Middle East. We go now to Harrison Mann, former U.S. Army major who resigned in 2024 from the DIA, that's the Defense Intelligence Agency, over the Biden administration's policy in Gaza. He's now a senior fellow at Win Without War, a network of activists and groups working for a more peaceful, progressive U.S. foreign policy. His most recent piece for Zeteo is headlined, "I was a U.S. intelligence analyst. Here's what a ground invasion of Iran could look like." Harrison Mann, welcome to Democracy Now! Tell us what that ground invasion can look like as the U.S. is bringing thousands more U.S. troops to the Gulf region.
Thank you. So for context here, I think really from day two of this war, the Trump administration has not known what to do and how to get out of this. So there's really little left to try other than a ground invasion. The other context I want to add is that from the Israeli side, as your last guest, Trita, mentioned, a long war that aims to collapse the Iranian state is good for them. So with that in mind, there's a couple options that Trump administration officials themselves have floated in the press. One is doing a landing on something called Kharg Island, which handles 90% of Iran's oil exports and is located deep in the Persian Gulf past the Strait of Hormuz. Another option also floated by Trump officials themselves is some kind of raid on Iranian nuclear sites to try and secure or sabotage Iran's highly enriched uranium. To talk about the Marines you mentioned, I think it's really important to note we've seen this Marine Expeditionary Unit described as 5,000 troops, or you said 2,500 Marines. There's 5,000 sailors and Marines aboard these ships altogether. There's only about 1,200 actual ground troops, which is a relatively small number if you're talking about invading a country, even if it's just seizing a small island. So I want us to keep that in mind. I think the target that seems to have risen to the top of Trump's list, we saw him and Lindsey Graham tweeting about it over the weekend, is Kharg Island. Again, it's a piece of critical oil infrastructure. The idea is that if you can capture it, you will basically get to hold 90% of Iran's oil exports hostage. The issue with this is that you have to sail. If you're going by ship, you have to make it through the Strait of Hormuz, which the U.S. Navy currently determines is too dangerous for it to go through. Or if you fly in, you're still landing on an island that's just about 15 miles off the coast of Iran. So frankly, I think any attempt to seize this island would be close to a suicide mission. I hate to say it, with U.S. troops within range, not just of the drones and missiles that Iran has targeted the whole Gulf and Israel with, but also shorter range weapons that they haven't had the opportunity to use yet. Artillery, rockets, short range drones. And it's really easy to imagine how if you drop troops on that island, they could really end up being trapped there. Which would really play into the hands of the Iranian government. And I think a U.S. mass casualty event or even a de facto hostage situation would be much more valuable to Iran's surviving leaders than the oil terminal that the operation would purportedly capture.
And Harrison, man, what about the logistics nightmare? Even if they were able to land troops, which I'm sure they would be able to, the logistics nightmare of protecting and supplying any force like that so deep into the Persian Gulf and so close to Iran.
Yeah. Again, I think resupply or even insertion or evacuation by sea is extremely dangerous for all the weapons I mentioned. Plus, Iran, as has been discussed in the news, can mine these waters, both around the island and in the Strait of Hormuz. They have drone boats in addition to aerial drones. If you want to try and do resupply or reinforcement by air, that might be possible, but it's possible to ambush aircraft as well. We saw the Houthis do it in the campaigns in the Red Sea over the past 2 years. So even aerial resupply or insertion would be quite fraught, and it's a real risk that you have U.S. troops trapped under fire and running out of supplies on this island. And I want to mention, this really applies to anywhere that you put U.S. troops on Iranian soil. Some figures on Fox News have also discussed trying to land troops near the Strait of Hormuz to clear out anti-ship missiles there to make it safe for oil tankers and shipping to go through. I mean, that really gives you the exact same risk of troops trapped in Iran, where it's extremely difficult to resupply or just get them out of there.
I wanted to ask you also about Israel. Israel is involved now in a multi-front war here, not only with Iran and defending against missiles coming, retaliatory strikes from Iran, but in Lebanon as well. There are still Israeli troops in Syria, and they're fighting two domestic fronts in the occupied territories of the West Bank also and in Gaza. How long can Israel, in your sense, keep up this kind of multi-front war?
I think Israel can honestly keep it up as long as the U.S. continues to supply it with munitions and an incredible amount of air defense and air protection. Right? There's nothing really keeping the Israeli military from pulling out of Iran and focusing entirely on Lebanon. The U.S. is already fighting the war Netanyahu wanted for him, right? Israeli air power is not adding a whole lot to that, so we could see that happen. They could keep going in Lebanon for a while if they continue to enjoy U.S. air defenses, resupply of interceptors, and now the ground munitions, tank and artillery shells that they need to fight in Lebanon. The political side of that, I'm less sure of. I think we're heading towards a nearly unprecedented level of rockets and drones and missiles actually hitting things inside Israel, not being intercepted. So I don't know how long Israeli people will put up with that before demanding political change, but so far Netanyahu has been pretty successful at keeping public support, or at least preventing substantive opposition to starting new wars, especially over the past 2 years.
What about, Harrison Mann, and if you can just say what the DIA does, what you resigned
Yes.
from, the Defense Intelligence Agency?
Yeah, so it's sort of like a miniature CIA, and it performs a lot of the same analytic functions. So my office was responsible for assessing strategic intentions and military capabilities of all of the countries in the Middle East, figuring out what they were going to do and what the status of their armed forces were. So right now, they're probably looking very closely at how many Iranian missiles and Navy assets and other strategic assets are left.
And can you talk about, during the U.
Okay, so I just wanted to let that play for a little bit, almost 9 minutes, but it's important, all right? They're not saying outright, but when you read between the lines, all right, some of the key things he said, Israel is fighting a multi-front war, okay? And then he said that the U.S. is fighting the war that Bibi Netanyahu wants them to fight, or the Israelis, and it's really the people, all right, that's over Netanyahu, all right? The ruling elite family, banking families, all right, give Netanyahu, Trump, all these world leaders their orders, and they carry them out. But the point being that the U.S. is fighting Israel's war. He said that, and he also said Israel is fighting a multifaceted war. And he said by sending munitions, no, it's going to come down to sending bodies. Because you listen to some of the experts, all right, as Scott Ritter, Colonel Douglas McGregor, those who really got their ears to the street, they're saying that the U.S. is low on ammunitions. The forget that term he just used, but the artillery. The U.S. is low on artillery. How can they not be? Okay, supporting Ukraine since at least 2020. You know, where else? Well, shit, supporting Israel in Gaza. All right. So, not only is Israel stretched thin militarily, so is the U.S. stretched thin militarily. And the U.S. has a military that's actually in decline. All right. I don't care what you think. Oh, you know, one of my co-workers was telling me this morning, oh, we got some bad people. Where they at? You know? I ain't tell him that, because I just let him talk. You know, but I don't know. Maybe he locked into mainstream news. And America do have some of the finest military, but that ain't going to win no war, because you got some bad individuals. And you talking about Spetsnaz in Russia, you know, they're like the Delta Force of America, all right? And they got platoons of Spetsnaz. How much Delta Force do America have? It's not many. All right, then you want to talk about SEAL teams and all this? They can't win a war. What wins war is strategy. Preparation wins war. All right? That's why it was written in Luke 14, what king goeth to war with another king, sitteth not down first and consulted, all right? Which I brought that out. Luke 14. Because that's what wins wars. Or at least tell you that we can't beat these people. We don't need to be going to war. We might want to, use some diplomatic strategies. that's when you count the cost. So a lot of this stuff, as he said, he's from the Defense Intelligence Agency, and that's who Trump should have consulted. So he's been retired or resigned. He resigned. So, but it don't matter if Trump would have consulted or not. His hand is forced. All right. Now he's looking bad, and all America is looking bad. All right, but he should just come out and say, instead of looking like a idiot, that my hands is tied. But he keep coming out and claiming it because he want everybody to think that he's the big shot. But he's clearly out of control, above his head, and this is getting away from him. This is getting away from America. All right. And this is what I was speaking on. Oh shit, I went too far. It's like I'm gonna go right to the point. This is Luke 14, verse 31. Or what king going to make war against another king sitteth not down first and consulted whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000? This is called logistics, military or wartime logistics. All right? You need to know what you're up against, and you need, to know if you're capable. So you employ logistics. That's why people, they do what they call reconnaissance mission. It's like when you read in the scriptures, all right? And this wasn't, they do reconnaissance, and they do the spy missions. And that's what we did to go into Canaan, to get our promised possession. All right. Moses sent 12 spies, one from each tribe, to go get logistics, to spy out the land, spy out the people. All right. Survey the area, see what the good, to come up with a strategy. I see they weak to the southwest, and we could come in from right there and make a stand. Or, the intelligence is what you need to win wars, all right? America just went in on bravado and is getting their ass handed to them, because Iran has been preparing, been running logistics. They see the U.S., everybody see the U.S., know their tactics. And so they are beating them with guerrilla tactics. Iran is beating them with guerrilla tactics that I haven't seen, that no one has seen. Drawing aircraft on the ground. This is, just an outline, a shadow, a silhouette of a jet on the ground, and getting America to bite on it. All right. So it says, verse 32, or else while the other is yet a great way off, he sendeth an embassage and desired conditions of peace. All right. And that's what Trump wants. That's why they called for a ceasefire. Iran declined. Now they trying to get, you heard them, you heard Trump. We called Germany. I didn't make it a hard sell, but I just wanted to see what they would do. I just want, man, you at war. We don't have time for these games. All right? And I'm not putting myself in it, but America is at war. All right? We at Great Millstone been at war. All right? The climate of the earth is war. All right, now we on a different, warfare. Our warfare is spiritual. We've been fighting this spiritual battle. Now the Heavenly Father, it is the spiritual battle is coming into fruition in this on the earthly realm, all right? And it's the material world. This war is materializing. The same war that we fought in the spirit is materializing. Because what is it going to come down to? Good versus evil. And right now it look like a whole bunch of other shit. Look like it's Iran against Israel. It look like a whole bunch of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's good versus evil. Now the evil are fighting amongst themselves. All right. That's the heathen raging of Psalms 2. But right now they trying to get conditions of peace. And you hear different people speak about it. All right. A lot of people saying, what's the exit strategy? And Trump is looking for a way out. Right. He want to get out of this. Because he's looking like a moronic idiot. He looking like somebody don't know a deer caught in the headlights. Like he don't know what's going on. All right? He's in the elite's trick bag. Trump is in the elite's trick bag, just like Netanyahu, just like whoever you want to name. All right? You want to talk about Iran? They are in the elite's trick bag. All right? That's what Elder Ariala went into. I did a little piece on his segment. This is all, what I said a week or so ago. This is the elites. This war is the elites against humanity. All right? And the part of humanity that's going to rise up and defeat them is the righteous part of humanity. And that is the elect of the nation of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans right now. Well, now and going forward, the Lord is getting ready to make a man more precious than fine gold. All right, and this is, what this is all about. All right, but I also posted this morning in the chat. Congress considers adding women to the mandatory U.S. military draft. What you need a draft for? Because you're going to put boots on the ground. The air attack didn't work. All right. The aerial assault, it did some damage. But Iran they steady going hard. Going hard. They just ain't barely just, a missile a day. They going hard. But right, this is what they're not considering a draft. They considering putting women in the draft. And it said the mandatory U.S. military draft. You get that word? Mandatory? Look that up. Find out what that means. All right? Yeah. And this lends more credibility to Isaiah 32:9. All right? And this is the first time in history. This has never been done. Women have never been drafted in the U.S. And I don't know if you go into history. I know it's women that always help with the war efforts. You could look at World War II. Women went into the factories to help produce ammunitions and artillery and tanks and the different, equipment for war. And vehicles and jets and things, jet parts and vehicle parts. Men went to war, women stayed back and ran the factories to, for manufacturing the stuff that the men might need to fight a successful war. All right. And see, going back to what I was saying, that we've been at war, but we don't have nobody sitting back for us. Some brothers do, but for the most part, we just doing this without the help of women because they're not on our side right now. But just imagine what you could get done if you had a woman back at the house making sure everything was straight and sending you stuff that you need to fight a successful battle. like a good, solid, healthy meal. Making sure your clothes are straight. So you ain't got to spend time washing and folding and ironing. And you can spend that time creating. Coming up with more ways to do better videos, to put out better edification. But you got to be at the job all day. You got to get off, take care of shit at the house. And, it's all kind of shit. Ain't nobody, we just got to do it, as the Lord gives us strength to do it. Because don't nobody give a fuck about us and what we're doing in our mission. All right, but that's the beauty of it, that when we get glorified, all right, we can give the glory when we get glorified to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Fuck all that shit y'all was talking in America behind every good man. Well, where the fuck they at? Behind every good man is a good woman. Where the fuck they at then? Because it's nothing but good men in Great Millstone. And for the most part, like I said, some brothers are, most brothers ain't. For the most part, brothers are single. Okay? But, oh yeah, I guess we'll go out right here. This has never been done before. And you see, because all this women's liberation was taking place right on the onset of the Vietnam War. They was contemporary. I don't know which came first. I guess, I don't know which. They both took place in the 60s, all right, Vietnam. And I think women's liberation, came later. It had to. Because, what I was thinking about this morning is, it had to. Women's liberation had to come after the Vietnam War. And if you're the elite, you would plan it that way, because just think about it. Well, and if they was drafting women, or if they would have drafted women, which they couldn't because, women was still separate back then. But just imagine if they would have, put a draft in place in Vietnam, that would have killed women's liberation. Because what woman would have said, yeah, I'm equal to a man, and then they would have put a draft in for women, and women would have all went back to the kitchen. Just like you're going to see right now, when this draft come, a lot of women going to get real feminine. A lot of women going to get feminine when this draft come. But what I'm saying, they should have did that in Vietnam. They should have drafted women into Vietnam, and we wouldn't have all this foolishness of women talking about they equal to men, because you would have found out right quick, all right, go to Vietnam. Y'all equal. Let's get some women in Vietnam. But guess what? Y'all going to Iran. And y'all need to be drafted. Because y'all out here in these streets fighting and shooting and putting everybody's lives in jeopardy just for your own stupid ass shit. No, you need to go to fucking war. Go over there and shoot up some shit. And I hope all y'all die. I'm talking about on both sides. All right? And that's what's going to happen. The Lord is going to come back and clean up shop in the Middle East. And that's where y'all going to be drafted to the Middle East, so you can get mopped up by the Most High. Most High getting ready to mop up niggas. Clean this place up. He's going to send a shaft through the earth. Clean this place up. Okay? So this is going out, on my way out. Isaiah 32:9. Rise up, ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters. Give ear unto my speech. Many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless women, for the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come. Yeah. And if they put y'all on them front lines, you're going to be dodging bullets and dicks. All right. And you could ask some women in the military now, they get raped and then they can't do shit about it because a lot of time it's their superior. And what you gonna do? Your superior force himself on you. What you gonna do? And you better, if you know what I know, you better shut your mouth. Because just as they can get away with forcing you, they can get away with something else, unaliving your ass. So yeah, when they put you women on the front line, y'all will be dodging bullets and dicks. You know, and it ain't, you know, I'm kind of making light, but it ain't, it's going to be dire situations for everyone, all right? Except the elect. The elect is going to be bad, but it ain't going to be dire for us. For the elect, Lord willing, I'll be the elect. But all right, that's just what I wanted to say. That draft, they said mandatory. And you heard how the man was talking. They're discussing how to get troops in Iran. Not if they should go, but how. You know. Now they trying to do logistics. Now they acting like this. It just got real. All right. But yeah, to the next one, y'all stay up. Apologies for the meal yesterday. I messed it up. All right. It's even good chefs sometimes mess up the food. All right. I messed it up, but I'm going to put that lesson back out. You know, I'm going to redo it. So just stay tuned for that. And to the next one, Shalom.